They say the earth we walk upon is not solid. Beneath our feet, hidden deep in the belly of the world, lie places where the rules of reality bend, where light behaves like shadow, and time itself forgets to move. And in one such place, there is a door not to heaven, not to hell, but to somewhere in between, a place even the gods refuse to name. That door is hidden beneath a temple. The place-time, forgot far out in the scorched wastelands of western Rajasthan, where the desert wind sounds like 1,000 whispering mouths, stands the Shiv Mahakal Temple. It is older than the Mughal Empire, older than the kingdoms whose ruins litter the desert. No one remembers who built it, only that they were not ordinary men. The temple squats on a cliff's edge, overlooking a gorge so deep you can hear your own voice come back. Wrong. Its black basalt walls are scarred by centuries of sandstorms. The copper spire, once bright as flame, is now a dull green, eaten by time. No road leads here. You walk, you endure the burning sun, and if you're wise, you turn back before nightfall. Because once darkness falls over Shiv Mahakal, the ground begins to breathe. The tunnel no one has seen. Twice, beneath the idol of Lord Shiva, hidden behind the sanctum's rear wall, there's a sealed stone door. Carved into it are words so ancient, even the village priest cannot fully translate them. But one phrase is clear: he who descends does not return. The villagers say this is the mouth of a tunnel that pierces straight down into the earth's bones. No one knows how deep it goes. Some claim it leads to a hidden kingdom from an age before history. Others whisper it opens into another world. And there are those who believe it doesn't lead anywhere at all. Instead, it swallows you whole. The keeper of the secret, for over 50 years, an old caretaker named Bhimdas has lived in a hut near the temple gate. His hair is white as desert salt, his back twisted with age, yet his eyes, pale, almost milky, seem to see more than they should. Ask him about the tunnel, and his voice hardens. Some paths are not meant for the living, he says. Not a word more. They say he has guarded the temple for so long because he owes it something, but no one knows what. The disappearance. The last man who tried to open that tunnel's stone seal was Raghav Suthar, a treasure hunter from Jaipur. He arrived with modern gear, laughing at the villagers' ghost stories. On the third night, during a sandstorm, he forced the seal open. The sound was not of stone breaking, but of something sighing in relief. Raghav stepped inside with a torch. The villagers saw the light flicker, then vanish as if the dark itself had swallowed it. No one ever saw Raghav again. The night the desert changed. For decades after, the tunnel remained untouched, until one stormy night, a night when the sky split open with lightning and the sand moved like water. That was the night something beneath the temple woke up. And that was the night someone else would be forced to enter the tunnel, not for gold, not for glory, but because what lay below was no longer content to stay hidden. Descent into the unknown. The storm came without warning. One moment, the desert was silent under a swollen moon. The next, the wind began to scream, carrying with it sand so fine it felt like 1,000 invisible blades against the skin. The villagers slammed their doors shut. Lamps were snuffed out. Only one light still burned. Inside the hut of the old caretaker, Bhimdas. The knock at midnight Arjun, a young archaeologist from Delhi, had come to Shiv Mahakal Temple, chasing a story, the legend of a tunnel to another world. He was told to leave before nightfall, He stayed. When the storm hit, he ran to Bhimdas's hut for shelter. He knocked once. No answer. He knocked again, harder. The door creaked open. Bhimdas stood there, his face lit by a dim oil lamp. His voice was flat. "If you've come this far, boy, the temple has already chosen you." Before Arjun could respond, the old man grabbed a rusted key from the wall and stepped into the storm. The temple in the storm. The wind roared like an angry god. Arjun followed Bhimdas through the swirling sand, the temple's black outline looming larger with every step. Lightning flashed, and for the briefest instant, the idol of Lord Shiva seemed to turn its head. Inside, the air was unnaturally still. The storm outside silenced as if the temple itself refused to acknowledge it. The copper spire above hummed faintly, almost like a tuning fork struck by invisible hands. Bhimdas led Arjun to the rear of the sanctum. There, half hidden in shadow, was the sealed stone door. The seal breaks again. The old man's hands trembled as he pushed the rusted key into a hole in the carvings. With a grinding sound, the seal cracked open, dust and the smell of ancient earth spilling out. Arjun leaned forward, torch in hand. The tunnel was not made of cut stone. It was organic. The walls curved inward, their surface smooth but veined, almost like muscle frozen in rock. A faint, rhythmic vibration pulsed through them, as if the tunnel itself were alive. Bhimdas's voice was barely a whisper. "Once you go down, you will not be yourself when you return, if you return at all." The first step down. Arjun took out a deep breath. His torchlight pierced the darkness just enough to reveal a narrow staircase spiraling downward into blackness. The sound of the storm was gone. In its place came a low, distant hum, too steady to be the wind. The deeper he went, the colder the air became. His breath fogged before him, and droplets of water clung to the tunnel walls despite the desert heat above. Halfway down, he saw something carved into the wall. Not letters, but shapes. They twisted and curved, impossible to look at for more than a second without feeling dizzy. The hum grew louder, the last light of the surface. He glanced back, expecting to see Bhimdas behind him, but the old man was gone. The stone door above was closed again. Arjun was alone. Ahead, the tunnel opened into a vast, black chamber. The air shimmered faintly, as if a curtain of invisible water hung before it. Somewhere inside that chamber, something was breathing. The world below. When Arjun crossed the shimmering air in the tunnel, he didn't just step forward. He fell, not down, but through something. It was as if the space around him folded inwards and spat him out somewhere else entirely. The ground that wasn't ground. His boots landed on a surface that felt solid, yet gave off the faintest ripple, like water disturbed by a pebble. It was smooth, cold, and slightly reflective, but the reflection didn't show him exactly as he was. His face looked older, tired, almost as if this place could see the years that hadn't happened yet. Arjun stepped back, startled, and the reflection moved before he did. That's when the cold in his spine truly set in. The sky of darkness. Above him was no ceiling, no cavern roof. Instead, there stretched an endless darkness, not empty, but full of slow-moving streams of green, molten light. They flowed like rivers through the blackness, twisting and crossing each other, each vein pulsing faintly, as if this world itself was alive. There was no sun, no moon, yet everything glowed with a dim, colorless light. It felt like standing inside the belly of a sleeping beast. The air that watched. The air was heavy here, thick with a metallic tang that clung to his tongue. Each breath came with effort, like something unseen was pressing against his lungs. Worse, the silence wasn't truly silent. He could feel it, the way you can feel a pair of eyes on you in a crowd. Every step echoed far longer than it should have, stretching unnaturally before fading, as though the sound wasn't just bouncing off the ground, but being collected. Where did the tunnel go? Arjun turned to find the tunnel. It was gone. Behind him now stood an unbroken wall of black stone, smoother than glass, stretching into infinity in both directions. He touched it. It was warm, too warm, and for the briefest second, he thought he felt a faint, slow heartbeat inside the stone. The river of lights. A faint hum drew him forward, pulling him like a magnet. He walked for what felt like minutes, maybe hours, before reaching a cliff. Below lay a river, but it was not made of water. It was a flowing mass of light. Thousands of glowing strands in colors his eyes could barely comprehend. Some shimmered like gold, others pulsed in deep blues and reds, but many were shades that seemed impossible. Colors his brain didn't have names for. They moved independently, weaving in and out of each other, breaking apart and merging back together, like a living tapestry. The sight was hypnotic. Visions. The longer he stared into the river, the more his mind began to slip. Flashes hit him. Faces he had never seen, streets he had never walked, voices speaking in languages he didn't know but somehow understood. That he saw great battles, ancient cities in flames, temples carved into mountains, ships sailing on black seas under blood-red skies. Somewhere deep inside, a thought whispered, "These are not memories. They are moments, moments that belong to this place." His knees buckled. He tore his gaze away, gasping. The hum from the river was louder now, no longer a background noise, but a presence. The guardian. Rises without warning, the river swelled. A column of glowing water shot upwards, solidifying into a massive figure. It stood twice as tall as any man, its body made entirely of translucent, crystal-like flesh. Inside, light flowed like blood, pulsing in slow, deliberate beats. It had no face, and yet Arjun felt its gaze pierce straight through him. When it moved, it made no sound, only a pressure in the air, like the charged stillness before a storm breaks. The voice in his mind. Then came the voice. It didn't come from the air. It came from inside his skull, vibrating deep in his bones. "You are not of this place, and yet you have been called." Arjun staggered back, heart pounding. "Who? What are you?" he whispered aloud. The figure didn't answer directly. Instead, the voice grew heavier. "If you wish to walk the paths beneath the river, you must leave something behind." The choice. His throat went dry. "Leave what?" The voice was like a mountain shifting. "Your name or your mind." Arjun froze. This was not a threat. It was a condition. Something in this place demanded a sacrifice before allowing passage. From the river below, darker shapes began to rise. Huge, writhing silhouettes just under the glowing surface, circling like predators. They were waiting for him to choose. The choice that cannot be undone. Arjun's heartbeat was loud enough to drown out everything else. Your name or your mind. The words weren't just spoken. They seemed to press into his very thoughts, rearranging them like a cruel hand sifting through a box of memories. The weight of the offer. He tried to think logically. If he gave his name, what would that even mean? Would it just be a sound he couldn't say anymore? Or would it take away who he was? If he gave his mind, well, that was worse. Without his mind, what would be left? A husk, an empty shell walking in circles in this endless place until it crumbled to dust. The things beneath the river. The shapes under the glowing river had grown more distinct now. Some were long and serpent-like, with countless eyes glowing faintly along their bodies. Others were more humanoid, but twisted, as if their limbs had been pulled in the wrong directions, their joints bending where no joints should be. Every so often, one would break the surface of the light, revealing skin that shimmered like wet glass before sinking again. And when they did, the hum in the air would spike into a high, thin note that made Arjun's teeth ache. They were hungry, not for flesh, but for something deeper. The Guardian speaks again. The towering crystal figure tilted its head slightly, as if it could hear his racing thoughts. The voice in his head returned, heavier now, pressing against the inside of his skull. You cannot stay here forever. The river moves, and it will not move for you. Choose. Arjun's hands curled into fists. Why me? He demanded, his voice trembling. Why am I here? I didn't come to steal or destroy. The voice cut him off. Every step you take, every breath you draw, moves the pattern. You have already touched it. The first memory slip. That's when it happened. A flash, sudden and brutal, hit him like lightning. He was standing in a street, but not his street. It was a place he had never been. Foreign signs glowed above doorways. Rain fell hard, soaking through his clothes. And yet, he knew the smell, the sound, the taste of the air. Then it was gone. He blinked and the cliff, the river, and the figure were back. But his chest went cold, if he hadn't held on to his mind yet. Why had that happened? The bargain changes. The voice spoke again, softer this time. There is a third way. Arjun's head snapped up. You didn't say there was a third way before. You did not ask. He swallowed hard. What is it? You may cross without giving your name, without giving your mind, if you bring me something else. The figure leaned forward. Its faceless head seemed impossibly close now, light swirling inside it like a trapped storm. Bring me a soul that belongs to another. The horror of the offer. Arjun's mouth went dry. You want me to sacrifice someone else? The voice had no tone, no emotion. It is not sacrifice. It is exchange. A life for a life. A mind for a mind. The river requires balance. A sudden sound broke the heavy air. A faint splash from the glowing river below. One of the serpent things had risen higher now, its eyes fixed entirely on Arjun. He could feel it, tasting his thoughts. Time runs out. The hum of the river became almost unbearable now, shaking the ground beneath his boots. The crystal figure straightened, its light pulsing faster. Choose before the next current breaks, or the river will choose for you. Arjun looked around wildly, searching for any other way out. But there was only the cliff, the endless black wall behind him, and the river waiting to take something from him. His breath came fast. In his mind, possibilities spun in chaos. The twist. Arjun stepped into the sunlight, squinting against its strange brilliance. And that's when he saw them. Every person in the street, every man, woman, child, was him. Same face, same eyes, same small scar on the cheek from when he fell off a bicycle at age 10. They all stopped. They all turned to look at him in perfect unison, and they all smiled. The bells grew louder, the sunlight pulsed, and Arjun realized this wasn't another world. It was another version of him, a place where he might never leave, because he had already been here over and over again.